First, though, we want to get right to that video. We just saw the toddler playing happily with a 300-pound gorilla, raising real questions this morning about parenting and really the common perception of those giant primates, the gorilla. We're going to have an exclusive interview with the young girl glimpsed in this video. As you can see her there, all grown up now, and her father in just moments. But first, here's their story. It's a stunning image. Tansy Aspinall, just 18 months old, playing with a 300-pound gorilla. What's more, she didn't get into the enclosure by accident. Her dad, Damien, a gorilla expert, placed her there.
Basically all our lives we've been nurturing a friendship with these animals.
The video was shot over 20 years ago, and Damien hopes footage showing the softer side of these powerful animals will now help raise money for his gorilla conservation group. But the question remains, is this safe?
You've got to be very careful. These are wild animals, so, and the word unpredictable is one you can use to it.
Jack Hanna says in most cases, no, but he also takes into account the Aspinall's family history with gorillas, including their grandfather, John.
The key is that John Aspinall himself and his son, being raised with him, were accepted as part of that family structure, all right? That's something that's very rare. King Kong didn't do much for the reputation of the gorilla. The gorilla is not a vicious animal. They're a gentle giant.
Still, attacks can happen.
I'm in the Dallas Zoo. There's a gorilla loose and it's going after people.
In 2004, a gorilla escaped at the Dallas Zoo, shaking and biting a 3-year-old boy, leaving him with a collapsed lung. So, could this video now spark a backlash? Critics took aim at the late Steve Irwin when he fed a 12-foot crocodile while holding his child. And Damien Aspinall says fear of criticism kept him from releasing this tape earlier. Footage he hopes will now spur support for these majestic and endangered creatures, even if it startles parents. And we're joined now by the former toddler in that video, Tansy Aspinall, joining us here in our studio, and her father, Damien, there joining us on satellite from London for an exclusive interview. Damien, I want to get right to you. Something that when you glimpse it, it seems perhaps, well, certainly outside the norm, but for you, this was very normal. Why did you let your daughter, at that tender age of 18 months, play with the gorillas?
Because I can see that there's a perception issue here, but the reality is that I was brought up with gorillas, and my family have been brought up with gorillas, and as it was said earlier, that if you're brought up with the gorillas and you're part of the family group, it's not risky at all. And I can understand how some people would find that hard to believe, but it just isn't. And these animals are very, very gentle animals, and the whole point of this is that people can see that. And if people want to help gorillas, and this is a great opportunity to get behind the Aspinall Foundation and perhaps help support our work in raising gorillas and sending them back to the wild and looking after them in the wild.
And we want to get to that in moments. And again, looking at that video, Tansy, it's really beautiful to see those moments. What do you remember about those moments?
I don't remember specifically that video, but I definitely remember going in with the animals and just loving being around them. It was like playing with another brother or sister, really.
So really, this was a part of your life as a child?
Yeah, oh my God, completely. It was just completely surrounded by them. On the weekends, we would go in with them and play with them, and it would be a real highlight of the weekends for us.
Now, your father just mentioned it was really part of an extended family structure. Did you have a sense, gorilla to gorilla, did you have a sense when they were having good days, when they were having bad days, a sense of their moods and their personalities? I
think the most important thing about gorillas to remember is they're exactly like humans. So there's some which are much more kind and gentle than others, which are the ones that we go in with. And they have like love gurgles and stuff when they're happy and coughs when they're angry. Do you ever remember any over-aggression? Do you ever remember being frightened at all? My dad would never put me in with an overly aggressive gorilla ever.
And Damien, you can actually, there was actually communication that could be had. There were hand signals and whatnot to be able to speak essentially to your extended family members?
There's a lot of communication. I mean, it's well known, obviously, that gorillas have a number of different vocalizations, but communicating with gorillas is vocalizing, but a lot of body language and eye movement. So I know exactly what's happening within the family structure when I'm in with the gorillas, and I do this every week. Yes, you can tell straight away if they're unhappy about something. And yet, interestingly, Damien, you now have an 8-year-old daughter, but you make the choice now to not let her play with the gorillas. Why not? Well, I would have no hesitation at all. It's just the political landscape has changed such, and health and safety laws have changed such in the last 10, 15 years. It makes it very, very difficult. But if it was down to me, I wouldn't hesitate at all.
Tansy?
And I think, she's actually being, sorry.
Oh no, I just wanted to ask Tansy, would you, again, this is the way you grew up, it's the way your father grew up. Is this, if you have a child, will they play with gorillas given the opportunity?
Well, I'm only 22, so kids are quite a long way away from me, so I'm not sure I want to think about that. But I'd love my children to have the same bond that I have with gorillas.
And certainly, Damien, you mentioned the Aspinall Foundation. You've released this tape in part now to bring attention to the work that you're doing. What is the work and why so important?
Well, we do a number of things in conservation, but one of our most important projects is we were the #1 breeder of gorillas in captivity in the world. We bred over 130 gorillas. But for me, the whole point of keeping animals in captivity and keeping them there is vile. So for me, it's about breeding animals and then sending them home. And we've reintroduced over 50 gorillas back into the wild, of which have been 20 offspring from those gorillas. And as I said earlier, we've had over 130 gorilla births in England, and that's a world record. So for me, it's all about breeding and then sending them home and then protecting them. And we protect 1 million acres in Africa. And we're very proud of the work we do. So if anyone's out there listening to this and wants to help the work, we need money to help these animals and help protect the wilderness that mankind is destroying.
And there's wonderful work that you do. Again, however shocking at first, to see that beautiful video is a sight to behold. Tansy Aspinall, we appreciate it. And Damien, thank you very much for joining us this morning.